One question I have for both of you is, how do you keep yourself out of getting in the mud so you can continue to run your business at a higher level?
One of the biggest things keeping me out of the shop is what we've developed over the years is an actual documented process for workflow, and I give that format to the people that work with us. And that has really cut us out of that day-to-day operation.
I do want to ask about workflow because they're just doing day-to-day tasks. That's one of the reasons I truly think a lot of owners are stuck, is they just don't step back and say, I got to quit doing this.
Today's guests are Frank Lecrichia, President, and Robert Lecrichia, Vice President of Mobile Auto Mechanics, Inc. Based in Deer Park, New York, the company keeps commercial fleets on the road through mobile service and a full-service repair facility, earning a strong reputation since 2010 for fast turnarounds and consistently high-quality service.
I do know that lately you guys have really pushed to try to get your guys to go onto we call it a partner pay plan, which I actually really like the way that you've termed that.
So what we were experiencing is we just experienced a lower than desired technician efficiency and production. What we did was we switched over from an hourly to a partner pay structure. The team culture as a whole has just been increased.
What tips would you have for other shop owners that are thinking about partner pay type of program? What have you learned from doing this?
A couple of different things that we experienced is that what can be difficult about that is obviously it's a big change.
Tell me about your fleet program. My understanding, you're doing it a little different.
So we have what we call a fleet membership. It's a new development that we've had in the last year. It's been very successful for our customers.
Welcome to Beyond the Bay. I'm your host, Peter Cooper. And in this episode, we're going to sit down with Frank and Rob Lecrichia from Mobile Auto Mechanics. Thanks for being on the show, guys.
No problem. Thanks for having us. Thank you.
So tell me a little about your two's background and a little bit about your history of your shop, if you would.
So the background about us is we're brothers, and we've been working together since we were probably like 12 or 13 years old on multiple different businesses, landscaping, music recording, all kinds of stuff. We ended up settling on what we're doing now is working on cars and trucks. We've been doing this for, it's going on 16 years with this company. And, that's kind of where we're at now. We have a shop with that's in the middle of Long Island, and we have mobile service, and that's what we do.
So you're primarily focusing on commercial type vehicles?
That's correct, yes.
Gotcha. So, in your path of this, I'm sure you've had some interesting things happen in the last 16 years with doing this. I do know that lately you guys have really pushed to try to get your guys to go onto you call it a partner pay plan, which I actually really like the way that you've termed that. Can you tell me what's been the most difficult aspect of getting guys to convert over to a flat rate type of pay at an independent shop?
Yeah, I think you got that when you had the good input before on our last call. Yeah, so what we did was, we switched over to a partner pay structure. We switch over from an hourly to a partner pay structure. And what's difficult about that, what can be difficult about that is obviously it's a big change. Guys are used to working hourly with overtime. But what we have it structured as, it's partner pay. So it's however the shop benefits, the technician benefits, with incentives on top of that. So it's truly based on, and it's truly surrounding the performance, the production, the quality, professionalism, every which way that is going to take technicians to the next level. It just rewards them monetarily. So we share that same value, same outcome, and it just translates to their money.
Correct. And like Frank was saying.
And what was your big push to switch to the partner pay versus just straight hourly? Like, was there any type of problem you were facing that you were trying to overcome by going to that?
Yeah. So what we were experiencing is we just experienced a lower than desired technician efficiency and production. So we may have seen a little bit slower of a turnaround as far as how that car count was stacking up and the turnaround time on the actual repair. So we wanted to basically turn the whole process around in the vision for the company and increase that production while rewarding our team members.
And how has that played into, has this been a shift in the shop culture? Are they more involved in aspects, or how does that look like on the shop floor for the technician when they go to this partner pay?
So it's affected the shop culture in a positive way. It really aligns all the same team vision that we want to make sure that we're satisfying our customers in a timely manner with high quality work. And then all team members are on the same page that they're all equally benefited by that better production. The team culture as a whole has just been increased.
I think there's a lot of talk lately on some of the social media forums about flat rate and there's some negative stigmatism, honestly out there about it. What tips would you have for other shop owners that are thinking about trying to go to a more of a flat rate or partner pay type of program? What have you learned from doing this?
I would definitely frame it not as a flat rate because it's not a traditional dealership flat rate structure. We call it a partner pay because everything is modified. We use a time guide as a guide. A truck that comes in the shop isn't the way it came off a factory line. So we rely heavily on our technicians to estimate jobs based on what the actual conditions of the trucks are. So we'll use a guide, we'll look at the condition, we get the technician to give us the recommendations of time. We have a foreman basically verify that that's all legitimate. And then our advisors can sell it to the customer confidently, get the appropriate labor time right up front. So the techs are paid the way they want to be paid and where they should be.
Yeah, I think that's a valid thing to point out that really does differentiate independents from dealerships is that you guys do have the ability to look at a truck and say, this is not a normal truck anymore. I mean, I know for a fact that I had an F550 service truck that we took in, had to have an upper oil pan gasket done on it, which means removing the transmission. And I would have felt bad for that technician because not only did it have a VMAC air compressor on it that's mounted to the PTO, it had a giant PTO with hydraulic hoses on it. And I guarantee you those Ford dealership guys are not used to dealing with all that extra stuff on a truck.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. And if you estimate that based on a book time, it's not going to be accurate. You got to look at the truck, and the best person to look at that is the technician, and with their foreman to, answer any questions they have.
Yeah, and I think that's a valuable thing to point out, and that's actually something I've always encouraged shops to do in their workflow, is you really need to get eyes on it. You need to have the technician look at it and say, hey, this truck is not the way it left the factory, like you put it. It's modified. And we see this a lot in vocational things. But I mean, there's so many variables too. Rust. I mean, you guys are kind of in the rust belt too. And things just take longer on rusty trucks. And I think that's something that is really hard to do if you have someone in an office that's just quoting stuff based on whatever the book time is and no one's actually looked at it. That actually leads to a lot of lost time in an organization.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yep.
So I understand that you guys have an outside a business coach. What was the reason behind reaching out and bringing in outside help to help you with your business?
Well, I'll just speak directly to you because you are our outside coach, if you don't mind me saying that. And, we appreciate your guidance. So the reason why we reached out is we've had coaches in the past. We've had people, we've looked to get advice from, but we're at a point in the growth of our company where we needed another level. We needed to get beyond what we've learned in the past. And we know we don't know what we don't know. So we're going to look to a professional who has the experience, has had the trajectory that we want to follow. And, when we were introduced to you through Full Bay and Diesel Connect, I thought it was basically a perfect fit where it was going to take us to the next level. So I know that we're only going to benefit from doing this. So we want to just take those next steps to make that happen.
Well, I think that's one of the things that, is a valuable lesson to other shop owners is that if you feel like you've hit a plateau or hit a ceiling, it is very hard to break through that autonomously, so on your own. And I know that there's a lot of stigmatism in this industry just because guys are, it's still a very blue collar and male-oriented or male-driven business. What value do you see, though, in reaching out for outside help?
So Frank and I are both big advocates on referencing sports. So we always use coaching as allowing you to get to the next level. We always use the reference as big sports corporations will always use a coach or on individual sectors, whether it's a hitting coach, pitching coach, fielding coach, to just better advance their skills. So we can utilize those skills as a team member with the coach to how we can increase our technician efficiency, how we can utilize better resources for our tech, how do we increase our employee retention. Being able to diversify that all those skill sets from the help of a coach is going to be super beneficial. So like I said, we always revert back to that. How does that big team player better advance themselves? And coaching is a great option.
I do want to ask about workflow because this is something that I do try to hit on a lot with shops. How has the work that you've done with your workflow, how has that impacted not only the bottom line, but how has it impacted the culture in your shop?
workflow, what you have and what we've developed over the years is an actual documented process for workflow. When a truck comes in, when a truck leaves, how we talk to a customer, that all should be written down, and we've been developing over the years. But in addition to the people that we have here in the building or out in the field working, any new person coming in, we can onboard them in a very similar and streamlined fashion. So we could take a tech that has 1 year experience and they could follow the same path. We could have a tech that's got 10 years experience and they're likely going to have to follow our process. It might be different than the last shop. So just having it documented, it does streamline onboarding and an everyday workflow, which it helps.
I think that's a hidden secret that not a lot of people think about when they invest all this time and energy in having a documented workflow is how much faster you can onboard new employees. And I think too that shop owners need to see the value in when you have a more documented, more not necessarily rigid, but you have the architecture, you have a good foundation to your business, and you can show them that. Your ability to hire better people is so much better. And one way I equate that is, a business is going to attract the type of people that equates to the way it's ran. And an example of that is if you have a dirty, dim, disorganized shop, you're going to attract dirty, dim, disorganized technicians. And I think owners really need to see the value in that. And a lot of guys will say, well, I don't have time to do it. How was that for you guys? Did you see it as an investment or was it a struggle to do it initially?
As far as the documentation of workflow, I mean, everything is an investment. I mean, anything that we're documenting is investing towards the future. So, it's very, very valuable for that as far as the future growth of the company. Like you said, if you could put it on paper, it could translate to somebody else. And if it looks good on paper, let me just rephrase it. If it looks bad on paper, it's probably going to be bad in the shop. So we need to spend the time and make it look good on paper and then make sure it works in the shop in the real world. And when it doesn't, or if there's things that need to be changed, you just modify the workflow to improve it. Same thing with the physical design of a shop. Make it look good on paper, design it, work it. If there's things that need to be changed, change them. Don't hesitate to change them.
Right. I think that's a valuable thing too to tell employees is that all systems are a work in progress. And then as things change in the world and as employees change, you're going to continue to optimize that workflow. I understand that you guys use kind of an interesting system, the way that you document a lot of your processes. Rob, what's that called? What's the product you're using?
So the company that we use is Connecting, and that's where we'll document all of our company policies, department policies. We'll have training courses in there. We use it for our time clock system. For us, it's a great operation.
So is that part of like a payroll system? Is that just an ancillary thing that comes with it?
It integrates with our payroll system. It does.
And how has that allowed you to be more precise with onboarding new people? How long have you been on that system?
We've been on that system for about 2 years now. It's incredibly increased our onboarding process. And even furthermore, it's really increased our training process. So it's where we get hold of our standard processes and procedures. If we want to do, let's just say, an after treatment procedure, we'll have all that encapsulated into there. If we want to onboard and show them how we do an oil change procedure, as simple as that, that's all in our Connecting map.
And there's actual documents in there. There's videos, there's pictures, there's procedures. So, and as well as the courses, there's actual test courses we've built, and we can when we onboard a new technician, they'll actually go through our classes and then take our tests that we developed. And if they pass them, great, they're ready. If they didn't pass them, we'll train them on specifically what they had struggles with.
So that seems like a huge amount of time and effort that you've put into building this system for a shop your size. How do you see that that's a benefit? What's your end game with that?
So just scalability. So like you said, everything's an investment. So the time put into there is an investment for the future. Every hour I put in here now is going to save me an hour in the future. And then to scale, it's indefinite at that point.
I think that's a valuable thing. Owners have to understand that, yes, you may put an hour into building a training module or a procedure or policy, whatever term we want to use. They need to see it as if they really do want to grow and get where most people say they want to do, because most owners I talk to do want to grow, they don't understand that that hour of investment now is actually worth 10 hours later, because you're saving it over and over again every time you onboard a new person. And there's an added benefit that almost no one talks about, and that's the fact that humans do not absorb everything the first time they read it or the first time they're exposed to it. So having something that's documented in a place that they can readily access at any time is super valuable to an employee, because they can always go back and reference it.
Correct. Yep, definitely.
Tell me about your growth plan, and how is using workflows and systemizing help with your scalability?
As far as the growth plan goes, we do have a physical space in the shop that we can only take up a certain amount of square footage of shop space. But the way we can expand is through our mobile service, which is how we started the company, as a mobile service. So basically, to expand that version is to continue our workflow process, and then to continue to map out on paper what a service truck looks like, as far as what size, what is the platform we're building our service trucks on, how is it inventoried, how is a technician going to get his tools in there, and how is tech even going to put his tools in there. The way we have our system set up now is we have a platform that works as far as a cab and a body. We have it mapped out on paper where the tech will put his ratchets, wrenches, screwdrivers, everything in the most efficient way that we found based on our tech's findings, and what they relay back to us is what's efficient, and we just multiply it. So if it works for the first 5 guys, likely it's going to work for the next 5 guys. And we kind of build out a map that way, and just follow it.
That's amazing. I've never interviewed anyone that said that they actually set up the service trucks a certain way. Like, I think it's not something that gets talked about a lot. And that's something too, I think a lot of people look at. They look at service trucks and they think that they're inherently more efficient because they just see that they're billing more hours out of that truck. I don't think a lot of people look at utilization though, and look at how could you improve that system. And one question I have for both of you is, how do you keep yourself out of getting in the mud or down into the details? How do you keep yourself out of those details so you can continue to run your business at a higher level?
Well, depends on what you're talking about. If it's, in the actual day-to-day operations, we just have to have everything documented to the best of our ability as what we've seen work in the past, and then give that format to the people that work with us. That's one way. And then we can allow those, the leaders in the company, the service managers, the foremen, let them know and have them understand that we trust them. So if they need to make a game day decision, they have full authority to do it, with following within the guidelines of our company. So that's one thing. The other thing is that we need to focus our time and energy on building the systems and putting the things on paper, and then giving as much detail to our guys to then run with it. So we'll do the example of the service truck. We know how this works. This is where we want to put these things, X, Y, and Z. Now you guys could go build it. Let me know when it's all done. We'll check it out. If it works, great. If there's something we need to modify, we're going to modify it. So we'll just use that back and forth, but let the guys run with the task.
Correct. And I agree. One of the biggest things keeping me out of the shop is, like Frank said, putting that trust into the team. Mm-hmm. So if I put my trust into the foremans, and the lead tech and the foreman might have a troublesome diag, before they come to me, I know that they have the power to call additional resources, put additional tech tips into the system, ask other peer technicians, ask the other foremans. We empower that whole team to work together before it ends up coming to us, and that has really cut us out of that day-to-day operation.
Mm-hmm.
So that freedom of being able to systematically empower your people to make decisions, how has that freedom affected your ability to grow the business?
Well, I guess for my day-to-day, it took me out of the service advisor role or service manager role, and it allowed us to build more of a sales team. So I was able to do outside sales. We were able to develop, it was able to give me a lot of time to develop our fleet membership program, which has been taken off. But without taking me out of the day-to-day role, it doesn't give me enough time to make those sales, to make those developments and new marketing, strategies. So it just frees up more time for us to do more things to advance the company.
Well, and that's the value I want to make sure that owners and managers see. And that's that if you're so busy working on trucks and doing all the day-to-day remedial tasks, it's really hard to run a business from under the hood of a truck. And so if you don't stop and take the time to see that there's value in freeing up your, not only your physical time, but your mental time. I mean, I think that's something people don't consider is how much of their mental energy is taken just doing day-to-day tasks. And that's one of the reasons I truly think a lot of owners are stuck, because they just don't step back and say, I got to quit doing this.
All right. Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Did you have any kind of aha moment, Frank, when you decided I just can't, what you're doing is not sustainable?
I didn't have like a one moment, but I guess looking at other companies, just looking to other people in a leadership role, that aren't in our circle of people, but on the outside, I kind of got the hint that, hey, maybe I should work on the business rather than in the business. But the only way to do that is to have the right people to run the business.
And I think one big tip that I have for shop owners that find themselves continuously getting drugged back into the mud, as I call it, stop coming to work in uniforms and work clothes. I literally had to force myself to go to work in khakis every day, purposely knowing that if I got anywhere near anything or touched anything, I would destroy a pair of pants. And I don't know, for me mentally, that idea of destroying a pair of pants somehow made this massive shift in my brain, thinking, wow, this is like forcing me to actually think before I just go out there and show a kid how to break down a tire or show a kid how to use a torch to get a lug nut off, like things like that you would never think about. It really slows your brain down and says, wait a minute, there's a consequence to me doing this now.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have quite a bit of content. I mean, we're running a little bit fast, but that's fine. Tell me about your fleet program, because I know that you have a pretty extensive mobile offering, but my understanding, you're doing it a little different. Tell me about that program.
Yeah, so we have what we call a fleet membership, and it's offered to companies that have at least 5 vehicles, which is basically all of our customers or more. And what it does is it gives them a full package of what they can expect from a company to take care of their fleet. It includes maintenance. It gives them a lower labor rate for their repairs. It removes the travel fees for any kind of mobile service. And we consider them one of our members, and we take a high priority on what they need. So if they have a truck that's broken down, we make a move and we jump on it. But the biggest benefit to them is that they have, from the start of the year or the start of when they sign up, they have a mapped out plan of everything on their fleet, every asset in their fleet to be maintained. They have a fixed cost on the maintenance. And then anything that happens in between that, as far as breakdowns or repairs, they get the same level of service, if not higher, for a lower price. So it's a new development that we've had in the last year. It's been very successful for our customers and for the shop too. So it does help in consistency of work and as far as maintenance goes, because we know what's coming, we know what to expect over the course of the year. And our customers they lean on us for everything. If a light bulb goes out or if an engine starts knocking, they know who to call, and we're the first call. So, it's been a new development that's been proven to be successful.
I think there's something real valuable to take away from that. And that is, so many shops just look at what they do as, well, we fix trucks. And I think shops need to understand that if you look at any other industry and you look at the way marketing works, you have to offer a product. And if your only product is reactive, then you're leaving a huge hole in the market for a competitor to come in and go become proactive with fleets. And I think a lot of shops need to think about that, about what do they offer as a product. And the product can't just be, we fix trucks.
Yeah, so the other, I guess the biggest benefits as far as proactive go, I actually call a PM a proactive maintenance. When I'm selling the membership programs, it is a proactive maintenance program, because we know exactly when, based on a calendar, when we're going to do the service. So that is part of it for sure, to be proactive on all that stuff.
Well, that's got to help you guys, though, with your schedule and your workflow, because you're now in more control over when you're working on trucks than just waiting for the customer to call you and say, hey, I have an oil change that's due.
Yeah, exactly. And again, just relating back to sports, we treat work orders or service orders in an offense or defensive mode. We want to be on the offense as far as proactive maintenance. So we want to be always ahead, be on our toes, be ready for the next service. And then when that call comes in, said, hey, we need you guys, we're ready. Because we know the maintenance is done, and our guys we have the history of all the service that we've done. So we know what's done, what's not done, and we can react to a service call in a more efficient way for the customer. So it's a whole, it's really a bigger picture for the customer to get a better service.
Well, and I think that's some higher level thinking that I'm sure that, it took you guys a while to develop a program like that.
Oh yeah,
But it
yep.
really truly is kind of unique. I mean, there are other people that offer that, but that's such a proactive way. And I think, people need to see the benefit when you're proactive or on the offense all the time. You're in control. You're driving your business instead of, we talk to so many owners. They're like, well, I don't know what to do. We can only work on what breaks and what comes in the door. And it's like, you guys, you're looking at this completely wrong. You're giving all of the control of running your business in someone else's hands. And I think owners need to see that there are ways to do like what you two have done and actually take charge and start being proactive in the way your business is ran.
Yep.
Right.
And I'll just touch on one thing too. Obviously we're a full day customer and we use their software to the best of our ability. We use their PM reports for our members, and we run those reports every 2 weeks. So that gives us our coming due or overdue status. Our members are never overdue. They never are overdue because we follow the reports to a T. And because they're on a scheduled budgeted plan, there's no issue with approvals because they're already pre-approved and prepaid for. So on a cash flow sense on the business side, we're getting the revenue from the memberships that include the services. So every month we get our membership fees. The customer has their services done on time. And then when we actually do the service, they actually don't get an invoice. They get a documented, service order that says what we did, but they don't get charged at the time of service because it's a budgeted annual, reoccurring payment. So it's streamlined cash flow for our business and also for our customers.
Well, I can see another benefit of that too is, and I know this really drags down production on service calls, is if you get called out to do something, you don't have to have approval because you already have all that figured in. And it's really got to, number one, make the technician so much more efficient because he's not losing any time. He's just fixing it. And I'm sure there's a cutoff where something happens and you have that where they have to call in. And the other thing is you're not tying up your office time as much. I mean, I could think of a lot of situations where, there's back and forth and there's at least 20 minutes lost on a lot of jobs because, the technician calls in, the service advisor has to get a hold of the customer. They're waiting for him to call him back. And in the meantime, the technician's just getting paid a bunch of money to sit and watch TikTok videos.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so it overall it helps everybody, customers and us and the technicians too.
Yeah. And see, these are the kind of things that I really love to talk about and demonstrate to shop owners of what is possible. I mean, I think so many guys get so stuck in the day-to-day that they don't actually have time to just sit down and think and go, I'm a pretty creative guy. I think I can come up with a solution to these problems in a way that no one else has done and really do something unique to stand out against the competition. Because that's the one thing I tell a lot of shop owners. What you do is not unique. You guys, every shop owner out there does the same thing the next guy does. You fix something. What really makes you special is how do you do it? And so many guys never take the time to actually document that. And you don't even have to do anything different. Just sit down and think about how do you do what you do that makes you special and then go sell that. I mean, an example of that was I used to own a bus company. And every single person in the industry was running some blend of biodiesel in their engines because we didn't have a choice. In Iowa, everything's got B20 in it or B15, depending on the weather. I was the only guy to look at it and say, well, we're all doing it, but I'm the only guy who's actually going to go advertise that we're a green alternative because we're using alternative fuels. And believe it or not, I had a really good turnout from that. Like people would rent my fleet over someone else's just because I chose to advertise something everyone else was already doing. But I made it seem like we were unique in it.
Yep.
That's interesting.
And that's something that I want to encourage shop owners to do. Just look at what you do. And even if you're doing the same thing everyone else is doing, you may be the only guy talking about it saying, oh, well, we do this, even though people don't realize. And it's a value added kind of thing, which is what a big part of what your service is. You're adding value to that fleet manager because they only have to make one call. You're making it very easy for them to spend money.
Yeah, exactly. They only have to make one call, and we can be the first call no matter what, even if it's outside of our scope of work. They know that we're on their team. So if we need to make a recommendation for a specialist, whether it's a fabrication specialist or maybe a transmission specialist, they know that it can either come through our shop, we can facilitate the repair that way, or we can just make the referral. But either way, we're going to be that first call because they trust us, because we're going to make an honest recommendation.
Well, that's a powerful position to be in, that you're a solution, and that people see you as a solution. I think that's something you both really need to understand, that that's a powerful thing. And honestly, you can sell that. Like, that's a training example of something for salesmen. You can train your salesmen to teach fleets, or at least sell to fleets, and say, look, we're a one-stop shop. Everything and anything you need to fix this truck, we will provide it.
Yep.
Even if that means facilitating. And I'll be honest, customers don't care if you have to outsource something. I mean, it's not
No.
uncommon. I remember back, we used to have a real problem with Chevy trucks, and the TCU, the transmission control unit, would go wonky. We didn't have a way to program it. My customers never cared that I had to tow it to the dealer. The dealer programmed it, and then we got it back. Like, they didn't care about that. And I think a lot of shops missed the mark on that those are lost opportunities for revenue. And the customer blatantly doesn't care that you have to mark it up a little bit to make a profit. They just want it taken care of.
Yep.
Right.
And the other benefit to that, so, the customer might only need that dealer for maybe once a year, maybe once every 2 years. So they don't have that relationship with the dealer as far as a networking. We have a dealership network basically that we can utilize, where we see them more often than our individual customers do. So when the dealer tells you it's a 2-week wait time, it might not be the same answer if we call them. They might say, okay, we'll get it in the shop tomorrow. So it's that added benefit to having that relationship where we could be a resource for them.
Well, and that's true. I think that's another valuable lesson for shop owners, is that they really need to work their network and build relationships. Because even like you just said, that relationship with the dealer, and I can think of a couple examples too, even in my world, where we had such good relationships with our vendors and our parts salesmen out there. They would do things they wouldn't do for other customers. Like, I had a guy drop what he was doing and drive halfway across the state to another one of those dealership branches to get a part because their guy messed up and didn't get it on the order.
Right.
Yeah, that happens. I mean, when you're dealing with people consistently, they'll make things happen that normally don't.
Right. And I think that shops can leverage that lesson with their customers and get their customers, think about it that way, that if you view your vendors that way, the customers view their vendors the same way. And there again, that's something you can sell. And everybody else is out there trying to offer good service, but very few guys ever actually document what good means. And once you do that, now you can sell that. That's now a product.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a combination of a lot of things.
Well, today my guests were Frank and Rob from Mobile Auto Mechanics. Guys, thanks for being on today.